Okay, let's get straight into it. No intro needed, because we all know people hate Alisa, okay? And in this game, she's actually really powerful. Generally, Alisa's all about creating whiffs to get damage by using her really good movement, her backdash. Honestly, I think most people are annoyed by her chainsaws though. So let's actually go over the stance first before we cover her neutral and, setups, world game, everything else. Okay, this is juicy. Let's pretend you get hit by a heat engager like, let's say a forward 2, right? One of her most common ones. Now, whenever she runs up, almost every Alisa player will first spam her forward, like her destruction stand, forward 1+2, this one, right? Why? Because it's +5, she gets some chip damage, and yeah, she can mix you up, right? Now here's an instant game changer for you. If you press down 1, right, like a down jab, immediately after, you can kind of interrupt all her options. As you see, you're both at 0 and you both lose a little health. It's a perfect way of quickly interrupting her destructive mix-ups and immediately reset the situation to neutral. Instead of letting her ruin your day, this will help you against, especially in lower ranks and really bad Alisas, which, let's be honest, are probably most of the Alisa players. Of course, this is not an all-end solution, right? The Alisa player now has a few options, and one of them is, for example, she could use her, this crazy super sidestep or electric sidestep or whatever people call it, right? She could also just backdash and launch you for it. Or even do a regular sidestep here, and then boom, launch you. Now to counter this yourself, you can use long range homing moves, of course, right? Or even quick ones. Again, all depending on the moves she will use. So first, let's look at the most common transitions you'll face. The first one is her 1-1, which is her 10 frame Punisher. So you will see this one a lot, and it's +5. On block, it's -3. And there's a little, pushback. So actually, on block, you can just backdash, avoid most options in her destructive stance. But if you press anything, -3 means she can still use her really good movement or super sidestep and catch you. So generally, be cautious. So just pressing is not always good, but of course, like in Nina's case, I could use a homing like back to 2, which is 12 frames, right? And since Alisa's fastest move in destructive stance is 11 frames fast, she cannot interrupt me unless she high crushes me, right? Next one is up 2. Chances are you've seen this move a lot. It's really good, homing high. Only -2 on block, and yeah, a heat engager on hit, so be ready to guess. But again, as you saw, once she hits you, right, she does this, and then down 1 will mock many Alisas, they will hit you. 3-2, which is just basically a variation of this up 2, but also her 13 frame Punisher actually, so you'll see this one a lot. It's also -2 on block and heat engager on hit. And you can duck this move, right? You can duck the second hit, but because it's so good and people actually use this, once you start ducking it, she has the mid variation, which is free forward 2. But this one is -12 on block, so make sure to punish this. So then she has one of her best lows, which is in full crouch, down 1+2. And this move can also transition into destructive stance, at also +5, just like 1-1. Then she can do her running 2, right? Which is also +5 on block. And as you will see, +5 is really important. Knowing what you can do at +5 against destructive stance is key in this matchup, as you will see. Then another move we will see a lot is down forward 1-1-2. On hit, like, just don't press. You have to guess. She's at +8. But even on block, it's +6, and yeah, but at least there's a lot of pushback, as you see. This one backdash is usually enough to be completely out of her range. Then of course she has a power crush, plus 8 on hit. Again, don't press. Then she has one you will see very rarely. Forward 4. It's a homing move. What most people don't know, she can transition into destructive stance. On hit it's only plus 1, so you know, you don't see it often. But occasionally, to catch you stepping, they might surprise you with it, so at least you've seen it. While rising 1-2 is her 13 frame punisher, not launcher, and it's plus 6 on hit, so there's barely anything you can do here on hit, so be ready to, you know, guess. And then, by far her most important transition is forward 2. This move, especially against good Alisa players, you will see it a lot. I will break down how this works exactly and what you have to know, but for now, just keep in mind that this is probably by far the most important transition, I'd say. And then there's 2-3 more, which you will usually see at the wall, which we'll talk about later, but just so you've seen them. Back 3-4, forward 4, forward 2-3, sorry, and while rising 1-2, and while rising 1-2-3. Okay, now let's say she transitions into destructive stance. What you will usually see Alisa players do first is at 11 frames, it's her fastest move in destructive stance, so she has no 10 frame move, just 11. And this one is plus 3 on block, yeah, and plus 9 on hit, so don't press afterward. So which basically means this move loops itself right into like forward 1 into forward 1. It's a frame trap. Then the second fastest move she has is a mid. And chances are you've seen this move a lot. It's 13 frames fast. Now the thing with this move is, even after a forward 1, where she's plus 3, you could technically do, you know, a down jab or anything, but you will just trade with Alisa, and as you see, she's at plus 5. It's not really worth it, so, you know, it's still her advantage. Now here's the thing. You probably know these sidestep charts where, you know, they tell you what side you should step a character, right? For Alisa it says left. The thing is, it's actually true for her destructive stance, but as you will see in the neutral section, sidewalking or sidestep lane left will kill you. But even here, you have to be really cautious, because, take a look at this. You've seen it. The destructive one tracks sidestep right. But you can walk it left. Now the problem is that forward 1 actually tracks the other side. So if I try to walk left, see, I get hit. If I walk to the right, I can avoid it. And this is a kind of a big problem, because, you know, generally your goal, whenever Alisa is in destructive stance, your goal is to avoid getting hit by this move, because once she does, this one is guaranteed, and you basically lose health, like half your health bar from just freaking 2 moves, right? That's why generally you want to walk left, but if you see people keep spamming this move, just know you can avoid it by walking to the other side. So this is the first rule you have to remember, super important. Okay, the next is her 2. It's a launcher, 20 frames fast, -8 on block, so it's safe. And it also has some high crowd, so you don't want to match jabs or any highs necessarily either. Also this move, you can sidewalk it to the left and launch her. Next move is forward 2-1-2. This is a new move she got in Tekken 8. As you see, it's -13 on block. But the good part about this move, it's a heat engager, right? And in heat, it's also a launcher, so you really don't want to get hit by this one. And just like the other moves, you can sidewalk this left. Then forward 1+2, which we already talked about, right? +4, +5 usually, but super slow and easily steppable to both directions. Now this move, 1+2, is great because it's homing, 16 frames fast, and it's +4 on block. But usually in neutral, you know, on block you will have a similar pushback like here on hit, so there's not much she can do. They might try to fly towards you, right? Or do stuff like that, but you can just float her, like jab her out or use down for 1. Or at the wall, where there's no pushback, she now can of course do, you know, 4-1 or 1. I mean, because of her being at +4, these both moves become a frame trap, right? But again, you can still step right or left, depending on, you know, what she does. But yeah, we will talk about how to beat her destructive stance in a minute. Oh, and by the way, even on hit, you can just float her, right? And if you look closely, you see I made her do the low move, which is usually a high crush, but it's just way too slow. So, you know, don't let her mix you up with this fly unga bunga shit. Even on hit, you can just float her out of it. So then she has back to 1, 18 frames fast, and only -3 on block, +5 on hit, but you know, you will be on the ground. That's like super weird. The main part why back to 1 is really good is because it's it doesn't say it's homing, but it is, and it's a mid. So, you know, next to this one, she can use this as a mid homing move. So whenever you're trying, you know, let's say stepping after this one, like 1-1, she can catch you. Thing here is it's 18 frames, right? So technically you could jab her out, like use any move that's 12 frames or faster. But here again, a lot of Alisa players, what they like to do after this hits, you know, fly towards you, you know, do like freaking low sweep, whatever, or, you know, or she might, you know, fly towards you, use this mid. Good thing here is a spring kick can beat all her options. You know, she could just like, you know, backdash or wait and make you pay dearly for doing a spring kick, so be cautious. Now to her lows, down 1 and down 2, which you will see a lot because it's +4. This one also, down 1 is also +4, so it's super easy to remember. Both are quite similar in speed. This one's like 21 frames usually. This one is 22, so there's not much of a difference really. And down 1 you can just sidewalk left as well, again. But down 2 is homing, so she has a high homing, a mid homing, and a low homing move in the destructive stance. Which is why generally there's no easy answer, like, you know, where to step, what to do. It really comes down to, you know, preferences and how the Alisa player plays. But yeah, anyway, important thing here is down 1 is quite safe at -12 if you block it. Down 2 is -14, so some characters can launch it, maybe yours too. And biggest difference here also, down 1, down 2 gets her out of destructive stance. Now finally, this one, you don't really see it, it's a low crush, so they might sometimes use it. But it's also -9 and super linear, so you can just walk or step it to any direction. And when she does her super side step, she can press 1. After on hit, you will probably see them fly towards you to mix you up. Or, you know, they just come closer like this and mix you up again. Of course, if they, you know, like approach you like this, you could technically always use a counter move. But then you risk, you know, them like blocking it or ducking, whatever, right? Depends on your character, of course, and the tool you use. As for the flying stuff, as for flying towards you, take a look at this. Basically, I tested, you know, every flying option afterwards. Like a 13 frame mid can interrupt all her options. Just know that advanced Alisa players, they don't usually just, you know, walk in recklessly with Alisa. But rather like they see what you're doing, you know, and then they adapt or they, you know, move around a bit and then they attack you. Something like that, that's what usually happens. Now, one more thing about the super side step. It's mostly used after moves like 3-2, up 2, right? And destructive stance back to 1, because these move are like -2 and -3 on block. Which makes, you know, stepping generally super effective. Same here for this move. You know, same rules apply. So you really want to see with your character after, you know, after these moves, what you can do, like what moves catch this super side step, right? And see what, you know, if you can get a float or like, you know, like whatever, right? Definitely check your character's tools against this in practice mode and write it down. Super important this matchup. Also, back to 1 leaves you in crouch. So this is a bit of a difference, right? So you're minus 3, and you are plus 3 in crouch. But it might be really, so it's really important to see also what you can do in this situation to not, whiff against the super sidestep. In Hina's case, for example, what I can do is quite simple. I can, I can just use Oil Rising 1 again, and it perfectly catches her and even floats her, so this is really good. You wanna find something like that if you can. Okay, so we can already see side walking left in general can beat many options from her destructive stance. Secondly, because her mids are really strong, especially this here, and deal massive damage. Like this one can launch you. You don't want to duck often against destructive stance, because the only thing you could really you will take is, a low like this. Yes, it's quite a lot of damage and gives +4, but better than losing half your health bar, right? So unless they like really spamming lows, be cautious first to see how they like to play. Now let's look at the specific frame situations you'll be most often in. Alright, let's first look at down 2, because you will see this move so often, like, you'll probably get sick of seeing it. Once I hit you with this, they're +4, so a super common move is down forward 1. Now, Alisa's down forward 1 isn't like that great necessarily, but in this game it got buffed, because down forward 1-1-2 is guaranteed if the first one hits you on counter it, right? And because it's 13 frames, it basically means after down 2 it's a frame trap. And if you press anything, you will eat this wall string for massive damage, right? It's a lot. And she's at like, what, +9, +8. So you have to eat another mix-up, because at +8 there's nothing you can really do. Especially not against chainsaws. So that's the first thing you want to look out for. Secondly, another thing after it is 2-3. Same here. If she gets you on counter it, goodbye. This one also wall splats, and it's 12 frames faster. People think it's 10 because it looks like a jab, but this one is actually 12 frames startup. But this move, like 2-3-3, if you block the wall string, it's -11, so remember that, it's super important. As for down forward 1-1-2, the last move is a high, you can duck a launcher. You could even launch the second hit of down forward 1-1, which is really good to practice. Also, what you should know is that down forward 1-1 on block, like on a hit it's +8, right? But on block it's +1. They might, just do something like this after all, like 1-1. So yeah, really watch what they're doing, but just so you know, or they might just do 1-2. Or they might do, 1-2, 1-2-2, or 1-2, you've probably seen this move a lot. 1-2 down 2, 1-2 down, 1-2 down 2. Regardless, against this string, the good thing is here, 1-2-2 is a high, 1-2 down 2 is a low, so there's no really mix up. Like, you can just duck regardless, right? But more importantly, if they do down for 1-1, which is +1 like I said, right? And you try to interrupt, this wall string is guaranteed like 1-2-2. So yeah, you really don't want to be mashing, because most low level Alisa players like to mash consistently, especially after plus frames. The thing is, you can walk both these strings after down 2, as you can see. The thing is though, after down 2 you're encroached, right? Like, see that? So I can only always walk into the background, but luckily you can walk both to the right as well. Now of course, once you start walking, stepping, right, they will adapt if they're good. And that's where you'll see moves like down forward 2. This move, it's pretty much homing at +4, +5. So, even after this, for example, and then if they follow with down forward 4, you cannot step this move. It's not possible. So this is why you see this move so often, because it's a 12 frame mid, +4 in hit. It's +9 on block, so if you block it, make sure to take your move, like your turn. But the crazy thing is, since this is +4, right, itself, if she hits you, she can do another one, and if you try to step again, she'll hit you again, and then she can one again, and again, and again. It basically loops itself into it, right? So it's like, I think against Alisa, this is also it's one of the most important things to know, that this one, at frame advantage at like +4, +5 or higher, it's basically homing. Keep this in mind. Then, of course, she could also do, try to get a heat engager if you're walking, or use her other mid homing move, which also splits, but it's also -8, so take your turn after. And of course, if you're like clicking, they might even use this move, like 4. It's also homing, but it also has a real nice counter property, which you will see in a little later, because this has a lot of setups you should know about. And lastly, if she uses homing, moves, or like anything after her destructive down 2. The crazy thing is, if you have, like Nina, Power Crush from crouch, like this one, you can beat everything we just talked about. And then of course she either has to walk or sidestep you, use throws, heat smashes, whatever. But yeah, Power Crush can beat all these options if you have access to one afterward. Now let's take a closer look at the 1-1, right? We're running 2, and full crouch down 1+2. Now, as you see, all of those 3 are +5, so it's super easy to remember, and the situation is almost the same. So it's super important to know what you can do here with your character. Now, straight up, you can sidewalk left. A lot of options at +5, including, 1, 2, forward 2, down 1, like forward 1+2, up forward 1+2, everything. But as you already said, forward 1 will catch you, and you can still step it to the right. And 1 is a frame trap, right? But you can still Power Crush and Rage Art. Use Rage Art against it, except against forward 1, doesn't work. So, if you're not sure, you better do not press, otherwise they can just keep loop you into it. And if she's at +5, if you remember, her lows are above 20 frames. So even at +5, you could technically just spam down forward 2 and launch her if she's aggressive, right? It's quite high risk, high reward, so you might get hit by 1 and eat a lot of damage, but if she does a low, GG, she will cry. Now, of course, Alisa can also decide to not go into a destructive stance after 1-1, or even after running 2, right? She doesn't have to, same here. It's not a forced transition. Then again, like we said, down forward 4 is to make you stop, right? Super quick, nothing you can do. It also beats, interrupts, Rage Arts. And of course, if you're if you're attacking, she she might, for example, try to catch you with 4 on counter it, or she might, just hop kick or use her save down forward 2. Now the thing is, with this move here, it's a bit different, because as you can see, just like with destructive down 2, you're in crouch again. So it basically means your side walking options are limited depending on what side you are. So again, if you're on P1 like I am right now, you could walk most options to the left, which means, this one will always, the forward one will always catch you. And of course, if you're on player 2 side, you can only walk right and avoid the forward one. So keep this in mind. And especially if she's in neutral, if she decides to not go into destructive stance, a lot of her options in neutral, include things like, down forward 1, which you already talked about, forward 2, back 1. You can only step these moves to right. Then 3-2, right, and up 2 or up forward 2. Again, these are -2 on block, means that your down forward 1, if it's 13 frames, right, like a generic down forward 1, will trade with her fastest move, which is forward 1, right? But the thing here is, if you trade, Alisa is at +5, so it's her advantage. So if you have a 12 frame mid, for example, like Nina, you know, like this down forward 2, I mean 4, or down forward 4, like, you know, Alisa, for example, same here, right? You can interrupt all of her destructive options. The only thing she can do against quick mids like this is her power crush. But as you know, this one is minus. Or, and crazy enough, I just discovered this while trying it. I wanted to say that you can just, you know, sidewalk it left, but actually you can only walk it right. Anyway, to beat your down forward 2, down forward 4, she can also use her right here super sidestep. Important thing here is, you see that because she's like flying, right? You cannot grab her, doesn't work. You can float her, and depending on what side she steps, you know, certain pokes might, you know, work as well. So maybe you've noticed already, but generally if she's in destructive stance, what a lot of Alisa players like doing is forward one into another forward one. And as you can see, there's already quite the pushback, right? You see that? So usually after, you know, 2 moves, you can just backdash to avoid all of her options. Of course, in this, if you do, you know, they'll try to, you know, follow you, or, you know, reverse fly and, you know, mix you up, do like, you know, things like that. So be aware of that. But generally, especially in lower ranks, you can just, you know, you can just backdash once and then like whiff punish the shit out of Alisa, because most of them will mesh anyway. So that really covers destructive stance. As you see, there's not one option. Watch your habits, see what moves they like to use the most, and then act accordingly, right? Now, one more thing before we move into neutral. As you saw, Alisa can also use, you know, can fly towards you. And if she is in destructive stance, she has a few moves out of the stance. First is one. This move, as you see, there are a lot of plus frames, and even on block, this move is like +8, +9. So if you ever see this move and block it, or even get hit, don't press. The only thing to beat this, like, you know, you can walk it. It's quite linear, and it's a high. Then she has 2-1. This is really mostly used in combos. You won't see this anywhere else. 1+2, of course, probably the most used option. Technically, you can step this. It is possible to walk, but if the opponent slightly delays it, you will most likely get hit. That's why this move sucks. This might get nerfed in Season 2, we'll see. But yeah, for now, you know, see, like, if they just, you know, mashing without delaying, try walking it. It's not easy, to be honest. You see, once she starts moving forward, like if I press now, you see, I will just get hit. But if you wait a little bit, wait a sec, like literally, as soon as she moves forward, you see, that's when you want to walk her. Whoop. See, it's kind of tricky, but at least you have something to look out for. So yeah, if she's at distance and you see her like starting to move forward, that's when you usually want to start walking. Anyway, on block, 1+2 is 0. So a jab, or, you know, down 1, like down jab, can beat all of her options. Your down forward 2 again can check her lows. But as always, she can, you know, try to crush you, like, or, you know, sidewalk, do whatever, right, to avoid your checks. Again, watch their habits. Then she has a forward 1. This is really nasty. As you see, it's like auto throw, deals massive damage. It's -11 on block. You will see this usually as a combo ender, and but it can also be used in some okay situations as a mid mix. Or something that you might see is like, you know, she does like these forward 1 loops. You backdash. Now she follows you, right? Does this use this like low? And the next time, like when you're trying to do the same, she mixes you up with, she mixes you up with, you know, the mid option, for example. Thing here is this move is super linear, so see, it's super, like, it's easily steppable to both sides, so that's at least easy. Same for her low. You can just walk it. You can just walk it to both directions, so it's not really a problem. Now the thing is, with this move, this low move, she's +4, and she is in crouch. What you will see, like, extremely often right after is this crouched throw, which you can break with 1+2. I just know this is extremely common. Like, you will see this sequence a lot. Be ready for it. Also, on hit, you know, you might see, while rising 4. You might see this move here as well, while rising 1+2, if you're trying to step, or, you know, the low move as well. The thing here is, you cannot step her, like, while rising 4. Plus you encroach as well, so you're limited, right? But even on the other side, see, it doesn't work. What you can do is you can parry her, right? And you can power crush. But again, if you use power crush, the throw will catch you, right? Like, you can try to step the throw, but it's kind of hard from my experience because, you know, again, because if she delays it or, you know, is in full crouch and like she can realign, right? Which makes it really hard. So usually stepping is not so much worth it here. So the best thing here is be ready for the throwback. If they use mids, you can try to parry her, right? Or low crush if they use a lot of lows. But generally it's best to block because a lot of Alisa players, they even like to mash, you know, things like War Rising 2. So if you move a lot or try things, you might get launched. So really watch their habits again, see what they're doing, how they react, how they play. Power crush, it's not worth it. The low will catch you, the throw will catch you. So yeah, just block or try to crush her lows. Then she has this massive mid, which is, you know, 1,000,000 minus on block. But, you know, you can step it like quite easily to both directions as well. See, I don't know if I mentioned this already, but like generally write this down. Against Alisa, you don't have, like, she doesn't have crazy lows to open you up, really. So in most of the case, like in most cases, you just want to stand block against Alisa. There's no reason to duck often, because otherwise, especially against crazy Alisas, you will get by crazy moves like this, right? And boom, you will eat a lot of damage. You don't want that. And then lastly, if she is in destructive stance, right, she has her sweep, which if you block the first, you can just interrupt the second and launch her in between. Or you can wait for the full string and then launch her. Because the second move here is a mid. See? So if you, like, it can sometimes catch you if you're too slow. So definitely practice block and launching this move a bit, because sometimes it feels weird. You will see this move mostly, you know, after, like, let's say after this knockdown, and then they, you know, fly towards you, try to hit you with this, for example, right? Or after a heat smash, you know, she will fly towards you, and then it's basically a 50-50 mix-up for you. She will either do, you know, this sweep or this mid. Except for when, you know, you're close to the wall, then she might actually do the heat smash and choose to do the normal flying stance, which you can also do, and use this elbow flying too. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's quickly cover these moves. She also has a normal flying stance, which is called single boot, and here she has 5 moves. There's, like, you know, something you will see probably here and there. 1, 2, because it's safe, it's -9 and +2 on hit. But if you're trying to interrupt her afterward, she can also follow up with one, like, she can do 1, 2, 1, 3 +4, which looks like this. And yeah, which also gives a wall split and deals massive damage. But most often is used in specific combos. So I wouldn't care about this move too much. Then again, what I just told you is 2, right? See, it wall split. So most likely, after a heat smash, if you're at the wall, they will probably try to use this move. So blocking it is your best option because it's only like -8, -9, and then you can take your turn. Then she has here, same low like in the destructive form, +4 again, same situation, right? And she has an unblockable, which is also big. This one is really nasty because sometimes what they also do is, you know, heat smash, and then, you know, you're trying to block because you know because you're expecting them to do this elbow, but then suddenly they do this move and they get a wall split. Anyway, your best option is really to block here because this unblockable is reactable. As you see, it's like 27 frames, so yeah, if you're used to it, you can see it and duck it and then launch her. Now, one more thing, as you saw, like you can step many of a flying stance to either side, but there's a 1-2 string. See, it catches your sidestep right or sidewalk right even. That's why generally, like in any stance, you wanna walk Alisa to the left and, you know, for flying a destructive stance, because you will avoid most of the options. Let's talk neutral. Like I said in the beginning, Alisa mostly wants to make you whiff so she can get a lot of damage. Because actually if you block a lot, like I told you to, then, you know, hike her lows, like there's not much she can do. So the main way to get damage with her is by utilizing her movement, make a whiff. Now, what I mean, let's talk about background first, because this is like a classic way of playing Alisa. As you may know, backdash in general, they got nerfed. They're not as good as they used to be. So this strategy with her doesn't work as good as it used to work in, like, you know, older Tekkens, I suppose. At least that's why I noticed playing her and ranked a bit. Still, I want to mention this because who knows, if they buff backdash in Season 2, this will become way more relevant, I guess. So, here it is. The important thing, after back 1, you basically have a 3-way mix-up. Why? Let's look at this. Let's say, if she hits you, usually what will happen, she will use, like, you know, moves like while rising 4, down 1+2, while rising 1+2 as a homing move, you know, her throw, all the things we already talked about, right? If you block back 1, you could beat everything she can do with a down forward 1, yeah? Even if she uses like this super weird follow-up, there's nothing she can do. A down forward 1 will just interrupt her, like any, you know, quick poke, whatever, doesn't matter. Now, of course, if you do, this is where Alisa's movement come into play, right? Like, you could start, like she could start there, like sidestep to avoid your poke and launch you, right? If she starts walking after, of course, then you can try to, you know, use a homing move, for example. And this is why, if you watch closely, back 1 gives a slight pushback, as you can see, even on hit, right? So what I used to do to avoid, you know, getting hit by, you know, like a homing move from here, backdash. You see the distance? Because if you do, boom, again, launch, right? So the theory is that to avoid pokes, you can step, and to avoid long range moves and some hovering moves, you just backdash with Alisa. So basically, she puts you in a situation where you'd have to think about if you want to attack, track her sidestep, or catch her backdash. Or no, back 1 wasn't the only option. She could use, you know, down back 3, you see, slight pushback, and then, you know, backdash to avoid your retaliation, or, you know, even down 1, as you see, pushback, which again puts her into full crouch, right? Just like back 1. With the only exception, you know, on block, or even like this on hit is -2, so there's no high advantage option here, but again, same principle applies, because she can just walk, backdash, right, to beat whatever you throw at her. And the crazy thing is, like, once she's here, she could, of course, like, for example, do this, right, then this, and then you use the, you know, movement, like to the back or to the sides, or, you know, things like she does this down back 3, then down 4, gets even more pushback, right, see, and then boom, or, you know, down 3, like down 4 or down 3. These things work really well to apply this strategy. She also has other similar moves that create a slight, pushback or leave her at like, a few minus frames to give her like room to play. Her forward 4, mostly because of the pushback, right? So she could step, boom, launch you. Her homing move, back 3, also creates push back. They're quite minus, they're like -8, -9, but the pushback can be really good, so you have to be cautious. If they space you out really well and use this here, she will have a lot of pushback, and then she can still like backdash and boom, launch you, right? So, and then for sidestepping, for like moves that leave her at a few minus frames, she usually has like 1, 2, 4. Her another homing move, right, which leaves her at -4. This move here would leave her like a while rising 1+2, C -4 or 0. Then her like pretty much a main low poke, which is down 4. See, -1 on hit, boom, perfectly to walk. And even this here, the second move, leaves her like 0. Then she has while running 3, which also leaves her like at -3, -4 on block. So what you might see is like she tries to mix you up, because a lot of Alisa players like to do like while running 2, which is a high to get plus frames. And as a mix-up, they would come in with this and then walk. But yeah, these moves are pretty much her main ones. So and also 1+2. Her new heat engager, it's -4 on block, and also perfectly sets her up to walk like your quick pokes after. Also, this move, because it's a unique move in a way that she takes out her head to hit you, you cannot parry this move with like normal parries. Which is why it's usually a really good mix-up to, if they spam with this, like spam you with this lows. And then this move, gets her in a heat engager. It's really good. But yeah, these moves, this is what she will generally do. Like this used to be like her main bread and butter game plan. Tekken 8 is a bit different because she, like this move, forward 2, and the extension forward 1 got buffed by, becoming heat engager. And same with this up 2, which was a homing move and really good for keep out. So nowadays what you will most likely see, people will spam these 2 moves instead of back 1, right? And like I said, this one is up 2 we kind of covered on block, right? The options, it's quite straightforward. You can also duck it if they spam it too often and launch her. But forward 2 is even more important. To make it super simple for you, the basic strategy here is to do forward 2, just the first move, or legit the first hit, and then block or sidestep block, and then they will just see what you do, how you. And so if you let's say she does forward 2 and you retaliate with a poke, right? Then they can sidestep, boom, launch. Once they condition you to stop moving, like to stop checking, then they start to go into destructive stance to mix you up and apply pressure, right? Now the next layer is basically okay, they maybe try to pressure you. Now you walk left or right to avoid most options from destructive stance. Now what they do, boom, for example, right, the 4 to catch your walking, or this move, right? And then again after 4 they can move again, right, because it's -4 if you block it. Or back 3 creates pushback, so they can try to bait a whiff by backdashing. Or what can they also do, they still go into destructive stance but use their back to 1, right, because it's also homing. Or even down 2. You see there's a lot of options she has. This move really becomes like, it's like key to her game plan. This move is extremely important, forward 2. And finally, if you keep attacking or walking after forward 2 to destroy, like to avoid all options, they can just pull the trigger on the second hit, and the only thing you can do here is to block. So again, forward 2 into block or sidestep block to see how you react, right? Forward 2 into sidewalk or sidestep to make you whiff if you check. Destructive stance once you hesitate, and because you're like you don't want to whiff. And finally, if you start moving to avoid destructive stance, they pull the trigger, or they use how many moves to catch you, right? That's basically the strategy and the mind game behind this move. Okay, finally, let's go over the rest of the key moves quickly. Down forward 1, I already talked about, right? But there's a few more things you should know. Like, first of all, she has a down forward 1 4 extension, minus 11 on block. Some people say that you can kind of visually react on like her spinning and then duck the second hit of down forward 1 1. And if you do, that's why, you know, that's when this extension becomes quite useful, because it kind of looks like she's about to start spinning and you know she catches you. 3-2 we also covered already. You know, it's basically if you start ducking this, she can mix you up with the mid option, right? Which is again +5. We know that situation, right? How convenient is that? Otherwise, you know, the mid variation is -12 on block. Then 1+2, already covered this move. The important thing here is if she hits you with this, as you see, she's not in destructive stance and heat here. But what you will see here sometimes is while rising free, like this move. This move is actually hit confirmable. See, once I see the first one connected, I can press free again and it hits her. Also, this move splats, so which makes it even better, and it's safe. And against some people, you can even use the low, and yeah, it will launch you, right? So this is something you might see after this move here, but you can actually power crush both options. See, like, and the low is too slow, so you will hit her anyways. Like, she can't get you out of the power crush. But you can also parry it if you want. But again, if she does the low, you will get hit, so maybe not the best idea. Also the low comes out at 30 frames, so if you're good, you might be able to block it by reacting. But honestly, from my testing, it's kind of hard in the match, to be honest. So maybe I'm just bad, I don't know, but yeah, again, you can avoid both options with a power crush. See? So this might be a good option once in a while, just to make them, you know, respect you and not abuse this move too much against you. And this move here, you also wanna step to the right, because it can sometimes catch sidestep lefts. But again, generally in neutral, just walk right. Then forward 1+2. I mentioned this move because it does have some really good tracking. So, you know, just so you're not surprised when it hits you. But it's also -12. That's why it can be really good, like decent mix-up to surprise you. Yeah, again, if she hits you, she gets a free flying mix-up. There's nothing you can do. You can just guess, and usually what you will see is, you know, this low here, right? And we talked about this situation already. And again, I told you to not duck, because, you know, she might do something like this shit here, right? You don't want to get hit by this. So in most cases, just block it. Then back 4. This move is really good because it's one of her main counter tools at 15 frames, and it's a mid. And also, it's one of her best with punishers because of the range, and you see, and she can get it a launch. Like, the weakness of it, it's -13, but if you try to punish it, she has a second move that will catch you, and this one is only -11. Also, this move is quite linear, so there's, yeah, again, just walk right and you'll avoid it. Then, forward 1+2. It looks like an approach move, but it's not, because it's -9 on block, so it's safe. This one is actually mostly kind of a keep out tool, you could say, because if they try to run into you and, you know, you run into them doing this, if she hits you on counter, she gets a free 2, like guaranteed, nothing you can do about it. So this is the mostly used as a, yeah, kind of a rare keep out tool, kind of. Running 2, right? This here, you can walk it to both sides or duck it, but again, as a mix-up, she can use, you know, her forward 3. Or, you know, something like that. Forward 3, 4. But yeah, most likely what you want to do is just walk anyways, because you can also avoid this move here. I would actually recommend to try walking this left, just because, let me show you. If you walk right, she's at a quite distance, so which makes it harder for you to punish her. We see if you walk to the left though, she's like literally next to you. So next move is her 4. It's kind of a magic 4. It's 14 frames fast and has a really nice counter hit property, because if she hits you, what a lot of people will do is they will just walk up. Oops, sorry. They will hit you with this low sweep, and if they want to, they can even, you know, go into destructive stance after. Like this is something, you know, this is like the easiest thing you will see. Like, and once they hit you, they can mix you up with, like, you know, again this mid, but you can just side roll right to avoid both of these options. So this is super important. But there's more she can do. Let me show you. First of all, if she hits you, she could just fly towards you and use fly like this single boot 4. Because if you wake up, like, you know, if you try to tag or just lay there, this move will hit you. But side roll right again avoids it. So super important. Another thing she can do is this move here. Back for 4, which we just talked about right earlier. And now, like, the basic thing here is she sacrifices a bit of damage, but it's really good because if you quick stand, she can launch you. And if you just roll or do whatever, right, she gets, like, the second move will hit you and she gets a free flying mix-up. Same as for wake up kicks, you will get launched. The free, like the low hits also grounded. If you just stand up block, something like down blockable could be a thing. Or she can even, you know, just fly, cancel it by holding down and then start mixing you up like this way. Or, you know, use the throws or, like, you know, whatever, right? So the best option here is really to, if you see this after this move, just side roll and block. Don't get hit by, like, you know, this mid. Because, yeah, this one you might, again, just block on reaction, like duck on reaction, and anything else is really, yeah, you don't want to get hit by it. So generally, whenever you get hit by this move on counter it, side roll right and then block. It avoids most of the options, but yeah, you just have to probably then deal with, you know, this cancel here, and yeah, but it's better than getting launched. Alright, next move, down for 2, it's safe at -7 like many other safe launchers, it's really good. Only difference here, it's 16 frames, so hers a bit slower, but still it's a really good keep out tool. Other than that, you can step this one to the right again. Then, of course, hop kick right, you'll see this a lot by Alisa players. You can walk or step it to the right as well. And finally, her power crush right, is super annoying, it's safe. But a high, and you can also walk it to both directions. This one is unsafe, you can punish it, but it tracks really well, so you might just want to block and punish it. Alright, let's get to her lows, and I bet you've seen this move here, down 3, and it's pretty much, yeah, the low Alisa players like to spam the most. It has huge range, right? It's +8, and on counter it actually, it guarantees a combo, right? And what a lot of people don't know, like if you hit this at like tip range, as you can see, it shows 2 at combo. This is completely guaranteed, and it's actually like you can react visually to it as a Alisa player. It's quite easy in most cases once you get too used to it. Because some people say, you know, try to space it out if you're, you know, at a distance. But just know, if you try, like, you should really know, you know, you should be comfortable with the range and know where it hit and where it doesn't. Otherwise you will eat a guaranteed string, so for almost 50 damage. Now, of course, this move is quite slow. 23 frames, you know, in at close range. As the distance increases, the slower or the easier it gets for you to react to this move. So that's why generally, especially online, if she's close to you, reacting to this move is really hard. So instead, what you usually want to do is, you know, try to side step or side walk. But as you can see, if you step right, what you should usually do against Alisa in neutral, it's really hard to punish her after that. But if you step left, it usually leaves you much closer to her. Also, just in case you didn't know yet, in practice mode, You see, when you block this move, it says -10, but since she's in a stance, it actually like -15, and you can easily punish this move. Now, something that most people don't tell you, because it's a really good setup for this move, which is her 2+4 throw. So because it leaves at a perfect distance, you know, to make the follow-up after a guaranteed string. You see, this was a tip range, so now the way to beat this is quite simple. You can either just hold back, or you can side roll. But if you do, roll to the right. See, this one gets hit. And definitely do not try wake up kick, otherwise you'll get launched. Now, before we cover her other lows, there's one more thing you need to know about down 3. If she does down 3 and Alisa waits a bit, she goes into a stance which is called her backup stance, I believe. And in backup she has a few options. She can press 1, which is a high and gives her +4 on block. Even though it's +4 on block, you can still sidestep right almost all her key moves. Yeah, so pretty much the same stuff we already covered. You know, which are all her like key moves, like, you know, the hop kick, down forward 2, back 1, down forward 1, forward 2, you know, jabs. You can sidestep right all of them after backup stance 1. So this is key to know. And of course there's one exception, as you might have guessed, it's down forward 4. So after this one on block, she can do down forward 4 to catch all your side steps. She has a 2, which is, you know, just a high you can duck. There's a real use for it other than wall carry. Then there's 3. This is actually a launcher, like if you, but it's not that easy to catch. But yeah, anyway, I will not try to attempt this, but this can be a launcher, and it's also safe at -8, -9. Then she has 4, which is this huge big knee launcher, right, mid. And as you can see, it's also safe, which is ridiculous. And then finally she has unblockable, which is, you know, backup stance 1+2. Super slow, you can usually react to it, and it's a high, you can just duck it and launch her. Now here's the thing, if you watch closely, she has 2 highs, right? 1 and 2, both are 11 frames, so quite fast. And the mid launcher, the 2 mid launchers are 18 frames and 24 frames. Which basically means you could fuzzy duck this. You could just quickly tap, like down back, avoid the highs, and then, you know, immediately go into like holding back to block the mids. You just need to be aware of the unblockable, and, you know, like if you just quickly tap, I know, down back and you see the unblockable, then, you know, you probably have to be ready to hold down back again. But other than that, you can fuzzy duck this setup and basically avoid blocking this move, right, the backup stance 1. The main thing I want to say is that just because you can fuzzy duck this here doesn't mean it's over, because if you do, that's where the real mix-up begins. Because now she can just hold down, for example, to access all her, you know, full crouch moves. Since this transition takes a few frames, as you can see, it shows -1 here. Alisa can still block anything in time if you're trying to interrupt her, but you can actually interrupt any of her full crouch moves. And all you need to do is a simple while rising 4 once you block this, because as you see, you're also in crouch state together with Alisa. It also means that your while rising 4 is faster than hers. The only thing she could try is to use a down 1 to trade, but that's not really, you know, there's no point in doing that. And if you're on the P2 side, what you can actually do, which is even better, if she waits and, you know, tries to do, let's say this move below, you can sidewalk right any of her full crouch moves, except for her while rising 1+2. But this move is so slow at 28 frames that you can visually react to it as soon as you see her body spinning and just hit block. An exception to this would be her full crouch down 3. But as for her, you know, while rising 4, her main low move, you know, the throw, you can sidewalk right all of them. Lastly, down 3 into 1, like backup stance 1, will beat rage arts and power crushes, so don't even try. Neither the sidestepping against, moves like the 4, 3, well, 3 actually works, same as for the unblockable, but stepping against this move after down 3 is generally not a wise choice. But any of the other backup moves will catch you. So honestly, even here against Alisa, you don't really have a reason to duck. The best thing you should do is really just stand block or try fuzzy guarding, and once they start to mix you up, see what they use, like what moves they tend to, choose as their default and act accordingly. Anyways, there's a few more lows. Her main key poke I already talked about, down 4, right? The annoying part here is it's only minus 12 on block, but if you try to punish her, she can use the follow-up and catch you, right? What usually will happen right after, once they get this knockdown, they'll come close, and then again, use, things like down 4, 1+2 to mix you up, right? Back 1, forward 2, all the good stuff we covered already, right? Throws. But this is why this is one of her key low pokes, because on knockdown, it gives her a free mix-up. As for blocking this string, once you block it, you can just block, right? It's 0, so there's no advantage for any of you. Which means, which basically sets Alisa perfectly up to use movement again to, sidestep your quick pokes or anything. Or if you try to use slower moves or quick dash to realign an attack, she can then of course use 4 to fish for countered, or 2, 3, 3, or even back 4, right? That's the usual mind game here again. Or she can go for another down 4 again, or 3, 2, or if you're trying to step her, up to again for back 3. You see how everything starts to fall into together. Everything makes sense now. That's you see how Alisa's work. You see how Alisa works basically. Down back 3. This move used to be one of her best low pokes, even best low pokes in the game, I think, in older Tekkens. Simply because of what we already covered, right? With being able to move after and force whiffs. Now this move is mainly used because this one tracks sidestep right. You have to sidestep left this move, so it's good to catch you sometimes, and then apply the strategy we talked about. And it's also a high crush, so this might be another reason why they use this. And then see how you react to start their mind games here. Down back 4, another quite annoying low, and this one you will see a lot, especially in lower gameplay. Technically reactable, but oh god, this definitely takes practice. I cannot block this every time on reaction, because 24 frames is still fast. It's a high curse as well. The most important thing here, you don't wanna just stand up, because if you do, see what happens. This is guaranteed. So you just have to lay down or side roll, and that's how you can avoid getting hit by this one. Then we have down 3+4, nasty move. I mean, this one is actually reactable. Can hit you sometimes because it's also a homing move, so you might get caught walking or something. But other than that, yeah, just learn to block this and then punish it. Finally, sidestep 4 and sidestep 4 with 1+2. I personally like this move a lot. Usually, the situations where we see this the most is during or as an round ender, right? This move is rarely used, so if they suddenly do a quick step and press 4, it's an really good way to enter round. But also, it's +2 on block, so sorry, +2 on hit. So you really want to be cautious on how they play afterward. And since it also has this extension, which is not interruptible or anything, if you press into it, you'll just eat the whole string for free. And as you see, this is +8 on hit, so you don't want to mesh anything afterward. But you can still block it even if the first one connects, and if you do, it's only -10, but take everything you can. Anyway, let's get into the Oki, I think, where Alisa has a lot of nasty setups you should know about. Now here's a nasty setup you will see a lot, especially in a stage like this where you have a lot of space. Let's say she does a combo like her kick. and uses up one, another up one, and then she runs towards you, boom, and then she's at perfect distance to get a tackle. The problem with this is, if you just block it, what will happen is, if you watch closely at the frames, you're at -15. Now this is not a true -15, so you can still block, but most people don't know this, you know, because it looks like she's minus, and then you press anything, and then you get launched again for no reason. So this is something you want to know. Also, if she does run up to you, if you mash wake up kick, you can actually interrupt her, like, so she cannot tackle you. But it doesn't always work, as you see here. You just whip. But the spring kick actually works, as you can see. Although the wake up kick does work if you just stand up and quickly press. But if you roll back first and then you whip, then it doesn't work. Same for the low kick. So yeah, your safest bet is like you can either try to use a spring kick, and then once they try to make you whiff, you can just stand up and then pressure them, like go up, use your plus moves, whatever. Or just try quick stand up and then do a wake up kick, or just block it if you want to. Also, one extremely ugly setup in combos for Oki is something like, let's say she does a combo again like this, and then she does a heat smash, right? I mean heat burst, and then she just uses key charge. And the thing is, when she does key charge, she can also go into a destructive stance. And now you have the problem that, if you guess wrong, let's say you duck or attack, right? She can use this move, her destructive form, forward 2-1-2, which, as you know, is a launcher in heat. And to mix you up, she can also just, she could just stay in like neutral. Use down for 1+2, which as a counter it is guaranteed the whole string. There's a bunch of stuff she can do. The way you can beat the launcher in heat, if you just take roll quickly and you go while it's rising forward, you can actually interrupt her. It's like she's not fast enough. As you see, wake up kick also works. Just sliding down works fine as well. One more thing you might often see is something like this. Back 3-4 into breath of... But, did you see that? You can actually float this setup. Only problem with that, if you do, she can do the flying low and potentially get a counter and launch you. And if you use a mid, like down for the 1, it's not fast enough to float her, so there's no way to avoid the low actually. But the best thing I think you can do is just, hold back to avoid the stun. And you see, if you backdash a little, if you see her coming low, you can actually avoid the low and also block the mid. Now, I think the ugliest part about Alisa is actually at the wall. And first I want to share two things. There's a few situations where she gets a 50-50 against you, and there's nothing really you can do, like unless you have a character specific way to handle it. But she can put you in a 50-50 with like following situations. Basically she can do any combo at the wall. If she ends her combo with back 3-4 into destructive stance, you basically have to guess between the low or the mid. Obviously I would rather eat the low for less damage than this hit me for like 70 damage. Other ways she can set this up is by doing something like combo, and then like when she ends her combo with forward 2-3 into destructive stance. Boom, same situation again. Or another thing she can do to get into the same situation, like she does some combo, puts you like throws you at like the wall with a wall carry move, and then she ends the combo like before you drop down to the ground. She quickly follows up with her running to get a final wall hit. She's in front of your face again, same situation. In all these instances, I try to interrupt her, but it doesn't work. As soon as you attack, you just have to eat the mix-up. If you stay down, she can still, you know, just hit you with the slow, or do even nastier stuff like, you know, things like, you know, give you this slow move here, which is nasty. She can even jump on you. I guess you don't wanna, you know, eat that just to protect your owner. Like always, try not to duck against Alisa too often, otherwise you'll eat shit tons of damage. She could also end her wall combo with something like, you know, forward 3-4-3. Same situation again. So I see she can create these situations from many different mix-ups, which I mean from many different enders, which makes it look like there's a lot of fancy complicated things going on, but in the end it's always the same. They will most likely go to down 2 to get plus frames, and if you start blocking, you know, you'll eat this. Also, especially let's say she gets a hit engager, right, and we talked about that already. If you're at the wall, they just might go, you know, into crouch, especially considering the new update, which will come in season 2, where the character can choose to go into full crouch at plus 17, right? And then I will probably go for this move, because if you do anything or guess wrong, right, they can hit confirm and get a wall splat. Another scrappy way of setting up the standing 3-3 is by doing down back 4 at the wall, because now no matter what you do, if you're trying to attack, like whatever, there's nothing you can do. So you gotta stay down, otherwise you'll get hit by this move and eat a lot of damage. And finally, and I think this is one of her nastiest setups at the wall, is whenever you see her ending any wall combo with back 2-4, this move, what will almost always happen is that she'll follow up with down 3. Because if you attack roll, this move counts as if you got hit at tip range, which guarantees the backup stance 1 for another resplat. A good way to avoid this is of course just laying down whenever you see her ending her move with this. Or if you take roll to the left, you can also avoid this setup. As you see, she just whips. Now 2 more things left, her heat stance and a few cheap nasty moves you should know about. Let's first go into heat. Because she does massive chip damage, now is the best time to actually take risks to avoid her mix-up, especially in chainsaw stance. You know, this is where you wanna go, like try ducking, you know, try doing more sidestep to the right to avoid the forward 1 plus move, right? Things like that. Otherwise, if she's not in heat, there's not much to lose. The best thing is either block or, you know, sidewalk left usually, right? This is where definitely when you want to take more risk and actually duck her. Otherwise you will still lose half of your health. Finally, the cheap stuff. Something you'll see a lot in lower ranks is this move. If you block it, she's at plus 6, but the way to beat this move is just use down forward 2, because even if she only uses the first move, you will launch her either way. So that's the way how you deal with that. Another weird thing we'll often see is this one here, up forward 3 into her flying stance. And then they try to mix you up. The good thing here is, as soon as you see them like, you know, doing this massive backflip, like they will either, you know, just stay there at minus 25, but in most cases they will just fly towards you. And regardless of what she does, you can just down forward 1 her, or use any, you know, quick poke to float her. There's nothing she can do. Like even on hit, it's super weird. She's at plus 20, but you can just interrupt her with you know, with jabs. But in this case, she can use, you know, the low and get a launch. So the best thing you can do is just block in this case. But a block, like no matter what she tries, you can just float her easily, even with jabs, because the low doesn't come out fast enough to crush you. The only thing she can do on block is to actually cancel into her, you know, full crouch or a backup stance, and then use the backup stance 1. So again, the best way really is to use a quick mid poke because it covers all the options. Finally, a combo setup or Oki that works even in high levels, and I've seen it a lot, is the following one. And basically what they do is they use a screw move, right? Like this one. And by the way, this is in heat. So they use a screw move, and then they do up 2 into heat dash. So basically, this is the setup, this last up 1. If you do not tech roll, you'll eat, it's basically a small like combo reset and you will eat a lot of damage. So just immediately tech roll and you will avoid it. Anyway, no outro because this took way too long.